4 simple tips to improve your English fast. Key number 1, learn full sentences and phrases. Key number 2, listening practice is necessary. Key number 3, use what you learn as soon as you can. And key number 4, schedule time for review. Learn what to do, and then I'll show you how to do it. Start using these keys and improve your English now. These keys are based on my years of experience as an English teacher and thousands of hours of experience as a language student. Real tools and examples that you can use right away to improve your own English communication skills fast. Understand how all these study tools are connected and work great together. Learn full sentences and phrases. This is one of the most important things I discovered as a student of Japanese. Lists of words are not helpful if you don't know how or when to use them. Complete sentences contain prepositions, adjectives, adverbs, articles, and more. You will learn these important parts of English grammar naturally by using them. This is how we learn grammar in our native language, and it's helpful when we learn our second language too. You can pick up complete sentence examples from a few places. Here are some of the best places I have found as an English teacher and a language student. Textbook with example conversations. Example conversations are a great way to pick up complete sentences. Make sure you have a good textbook. I like the textbooks in the Cambridge series, English Grammar in Use. My copy of this textbook is over 14 years old, and I still use it. English interviews. These can be found in podcasts, videos, blogs, or newspapers and magazines. Interviews are real people talking. Find a good English blog. I believe in the power of natural sentences, so my blog has lots of them. Of course, there are other great English blogs out there too. Find one you like that uses natural sentences to teach a grammar point. This is a warning I can give you as a language student. I spent a lot of time trying to learn from newspapers and textbook units that told stories, but didn't use the same kind of language that people use in real conversation. Textbook stories. I learned this when I tried to use some phrases I learned from a textbook story. It was a classic Japanese children's story, and I tried to use the same vocabulary and sentence patterns in conversation. I was told, "We don't talk like that." The story is fun and interesting, but it doesn't use the same kind of vocabulary that we use in regular conversation. A warning from a language teacher. Newspapers. I was using an English newspaper in Japan for one of my private lessons. The newspaper had translations for the difficult vocabulary from the story. My student could understand the story and learn difficult words with the Japanese translation right in the text. I thought this was great. For about 2 weeks. Then I looked at the vocabulary they were learning.
And can you guess what I thought?
That's right. Native speakers don't talk like that. Newspaper and magazine stories don't use the same kind of language that we use in conversation. I know the meaning of stifle, of course, but I rarely use that word in regular conversation. In conversation, I will use a simple word with the same meaning. The bills will prevent free speech. A bill is a suggestion for a new law. Japanese also uses different vocabulary for these kinds of articles. I bet it's the same in your language too. I stopped using these kinds of stories in my lessons. Now, all my private lessons are custom made for each student using natural English.
You want to read full English sentences that are natural. Focus on this when you work to improve your English. Full sentences are also perfect for our second key point.
Listening is very important. More than that, it's necessary. Many students don't spend enough time listening. Some don't spend any. I understand it may not be easy to listen to native English speakers where you live, but this guide will help. Our first tip to improving your English listening skills is practice with a native speaker. Are there English teachers where you live? Do you have access to native speaking teachers for private or group lessons? There are many online teachers who will teach you with Skype or another live chatting service. If you have the chance and the money for these kind of lessons, this is a great way. But it's not the only way. Find a great English blog.
I believe in the power of English listening. So, of course, my blog has lots of free English resources that you can use. But of course, there are other blogs too. You can also find English podcasts and other audio streams.
English podcasts. You can Google English podcasts. I did a little research for this video, and to be honest, I didn't find that many that I thought were helpful. I did find one British English podcast that seemed to be people talking naturally. The link to this podcast is in the description. Do you have a favorite English podcast? Please leave a comment and let us know. Another great way to improve your English listening skills is with TV.
I once worked with a student who used a popular TV show from the 90s to help him use natural English.
I had another student who was watching a TV drama to study, and she would ask me about any idioms or expressions that were used in the show. This technique has the added benefit of being interesting and fun, especially if you like the show, and my students did. The first student learned natural English from the TV show Friends. This show used a lot of natural English that you can use right away in conversation. Friends has been suggested by other English study websites as a popular show for learning English.
I made a detailed blog post about how to learn English from TV shows.
A link to this post is in the description of this video. YouTube. With YouTube, you can find episodes or parts of episodes that have useful conversations to practice. and you can watch it many times. This can work with any YouTube video, especially one that teaches English with natural examples.
There are many great YouTube channels that teach English. Find a channel you like or find a video you like and watch it a few times.
Do you remember the students I told you about in the TV section? They both watch their TV shows on DVDs. DVDs have a few benefits. You can watch the same episode several times. Like YouTube videos, repetition is awesome. If you enjoy the show, learning can be a lot of fun. And you can watch them without an internet connection.
You really want to listen to English spoken by a native speaker.
A friend of mine once overheard a non-native teacher explain the meaning of a common English idiom incorrectly. They were having a lesson in a Tokyo cafe at the table beside him. He even approached the student after the teacher left and corrected the meaning.
I have seen a few classes in Tokyo where a Japanese teacher is reading English to a student, and their pronunciation is terrible. They have a very heavy accent.
What's worse is that the student will naturally try to copy the sound of the teacher. Be careful of this when you choose a teacher. You can learn English from non-native speakers. There are many smart and qualified non-native English teachers. Just make sure that your teacher has experience and has spent time in a native environment. I also want to mention that even native speakers can be bad teachers.
So, find a teacher who is helpful and cares about their students.
I even had a few Japanese lessons with a very high-level Russian teacher. In the end, I chose a native speaker for my lessons. I live in Tokyo, so native-speaking teachers are easy to find. But if your teacher has a high level and is kind, you will be fine.
Like newspapers, news TV programs don't use conversational English.
It can be a great way to learn about world events, but it won't help you improve your vocabulary for natural conversations. Remember, we don't talk like that.
I want to stress here that you need to make correct English listening practice part of your study. Remember, you listened to your native language before you spoke. And you listened to it and spoke it before you learned to write. Don't forget this when you learn your new language. Listening is necessary.
Key number 3, use what you learn as soon as you can. The best way to do this is to connect your own personal experiences to new language. This is something very important that I discovered as a student.
You want to connect new grammar to real experiences from your own life.
Real examples and memories have extra meaning for you. Therefore, they're easier to remember.
Connecting new grammar to my own experiences makes it easier to remember and easier to use, which basically means I learn it faster.
Here's an example. Say you just learned the present perfect continuous grammar, have or has, plus been, plus the continuous tense of a verb. Next, use your own experience or situation. Now use the new grammar to write something about you. I've been studying all night. This was such an important discovery that I gave the technique a name, the ESL Grammar Connection Method, and I spent weeks writing an entire blog post about it. Here's a clip from that post using my own real experience. I went to Hakone with my girlfriend. Now, compare my sentence to a sentence example you might find in a grammar textbook. Jim went to Italy with his wife. Both examples use the same grammar, but the textbook example is someone else's story. I don't know Jim or his wife, and I have never been to Italy. The second example is from a real-life experience. The grammar is connected to a real memory. It's my own experience, so it's easy for me to remember. I use this technique to improve my Japanese quickly, and you can use it to improve your English too. There's a link to my ESL Connection Method blog post in the description of this video. Key number 4. Schedule time for review. Repeat, repeat, repeat. Don't move from one lesson to the next without reviewing. You learned your native language the same way. You heard it every day, and you heard the same words and phrases many times. Learning your second language is no different. Repetition is the mother of skill. Tony Robbins. Review is an important part of your learning experience, and it supports the other 3 key points in this video. It's not always fun to repeat. Some of us have a desire to move quickly onto the next thing. I used to do it all the time myself. I'm very guilty of this as a language student. When you move on to new ideas without reviewing your past study, it stays behind. It doesn't come forward with you as you move ahead. It is easily forgotten. To change this habit, I had to change the way I thought about review and repetition. Here's a helpful technique. You can repeat one point of study in 4 different ways. Read the English, write the English, listen to the English, speak the English. I would rehearse what I wanted to say before I met my teacher or Japanese friends. I would write the sentences, read them out loud, and listen to audio if it was available. I had an idea in my mind that I will use this new language. If I can see myself using these sentences in the future, I never feel like review is boring. It's exciting. If I understand that reviewing my past language study will help me remember and use it, I'm happy to review. I don't think of it as boring at all. I think of it as meeting an old friend. Start using these 4 tips right away and watch your English improve fast. You can find these tips on my blog post to review and refresh whenever you like. There's a link in the description of this video. Join my newsletter family and get my 32-page ebook, 5 Simple English Communication Tips, and get access to many great English PDF downloads. Plus English in your inbox every week. Join my English newsletter by clicking here. Thanks for watching and have a great day.